Okay, so this is my giant dropper post story. Now, if you need a little bit of context, go check out the last video, but I was having dropper post problems and I stuffed Dave around from BMMTB for about an hour trying to fix it in the morning. Now, as for why it happened, I kind of need to go back all the way to when I first purchased this bike. So, it's a Giant Rain, and it comes stock with a Giant SL contact dropper post. Now, when I first bought the bike, I hadn't been riding that long, and I didn't know you needed to service these things. Like, fuck me for not knowing that, right? So I didn't really service it. I was buying a lubricant for it. I can't, like WPL, fork boost, something like that. So I was lubricating it, but I was never really cleaning out the inside. And so gunk eventually just built up on the inside, and it totally stripped off the back coating of the post. And it just wasn't working. It was like custard on the inside because there was that much dirt and sand and lubricant that it all pulled up. So it was super gross. So that was about after 6 months of owning it. So it took me about 6 months to really destroy the thing. And I saw the coating coming off and it wasn't working as well. But I don't know, I just didn't really think more of it. It wasn't until it really stuffed up that I decided to do a service on it. So I went to do a service and I could not get the post out of the bike. It had just seized up right in there. So I tried to get it out. I did it all myself. And I just scratched up the post and I didn't eventually get it out. So it was kind of stuffed and I thought, oh, I'll just buy a new post. And I didn't want to get a Giant one because I'm told that they're pretty cheap. They don't cost a lot, but they're built pretty poorly. So I went online to do a little bit of research on what is a decent dropper, and every single dropper seemed to have someone who had a problem with it. Like, there was no clear winner, like this is the best, reliable, blah blah blah. There's just nothing out there. So if you have a recommendation for a dropper, let me know, please put it in the comment, because I think I'm in the market for a new one again. So yeah, took it to the bike shop. They pulled out the old dropper post, put in a new one, and I eventually just went with another Giant one because they were like 225 bucks or something like that. It was a lot cheaper than the next closest one, which is more like 300, 350. At least the ones I was looking at online at the time. But I figured if I just did a better job maintaining it, then hopefully it would last a lot longer. And then I could figure it out next dropper post, which one I wanted to get. So yeah, everything was going reasonably well. I think this one's been in here for probably getting close to a year now. And I pretty much service it like once a month. So I pull it all apart and just clean it all up, re-grease it, put it back together. But last week I went for a 5er ride with the Garagal Gorillas, and then all of a sudden the post just had no ability to resist like rotation. So the ride was on the Wednesday afternoon and I was supposed to be riding with Dave on Saturday. So I did a bit of research on Thursday as to why that might be happening before I pulled it apart, and I had a bit of an idea. So what I think it is to prevent the rotation, there are these two little like plastic shims, plastic keys, that they go into place, and then when you put the outer and the inner dropper post together, you line it all up, and the keys go in and they're supposed to prevent rotation. I think that's how it works. So there were some comments online that the keys kind of just wear out over time, because they're a bit of a sacrificial piece that's supposed to wear out, apparently. I don't even know if that's a problem, but that's what they were saying. So because I had my old post and I knew that didn't rotate, and I assumed it would still work okay because I eventually cleaned it up and re-greased it all, so it should have been working okay. Yeah, so on Friday night, I decided to switch over the post, and I kind of did a Frankenstein of the two. There's a little bit of this and a little bit of that to try and get the best possible working post together. Yeah, so I got my Frankenstein dropper post on, but as I was doing the changeover, I accidentally ripped the cable out of the remote here, just pulled it right out, and the whole thing frayed as it came out. So I couldn't get it back through the hole again because it's all frayed and it was all just turning to shit. So that was like 9 o'clock on Friday night. So I called Dave and I said, well, I'm gonna have to like postpone the ride for a little bit because we were supposed to be meeting out on the trails at 8:30, but I needed to get to a bike shop so that I could get a new cable, but I couldn't because no bike shop opens up until 8:30. So yeah, we were riding Knapsack, which is, you know, 10-15 minutes away from Penrith, and I went to a bike shop in Penrith, which was, I think it was Blackman's is the name. And this bike shop is huge. You could probably fit every single bike shop on the northern beaches into that one bike shop, which would be awesome, except for the fact that the bike shop's basically got no bikes. But they did have a dropper post cable, so I bought the cable, I went back out, and I thought, oh, this is great, this is working out too well. And so, put it onto the post, put it all through, was about to attach it up here, and I realized that the screw that holds the cable in place, I didn't actually tighten that back up properly as I was putting it all back together the night before, and it had come out somewhere on the drive over there. So I was like, oh God, I've just stuffed everything up. So I had no functioning post. Yeah, so I went in, said, hey guys, I'm after a miracle, and pretty much just like, nah. They looked at me, he's like, nah, you can't get that. And he's like, oh, you should go to Bunnings or go somewhere that has those sorts of things and to see if you can get a screw. I'm like, oh, that's just gonna take way too long. And so I left, I was just about to walk out the door, and the guy yells out, he said, do you have flats or do you have clipless pedals? And I said, I have flats. Yeah, so he said, just double check, maybe the pins in the pedal that your feet kind of grip into, he said it might just be the same screw, maybe. And I was like, no, there's no way, that can't be right. So I went out and checked, and wouldn't you know it, it's the exact same screw size. So it worked. It all just worked unbelievably. So now I'm missing a pin out of my flat pedal here, but that's all right. So that's it. That's a giant dropper post story. So again, yeah, if you have any recommendations for dropper posts, I'm after, you know, nothing too fancy. I definitely don't want hydraulic. I just want cable actuated, like 150 odd mil a drop, nothing less than that. And it's got to be able to be serviced yourself with decent spare parts. That's it. It's not too much to ask, right? So I think I'm just about done with Giant. I want to go with something with a little bit more quality to it. So that's it. Just a pretty quick one, I think. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. I'll see you in the next one.